Welcome back to the Classic and Current Gaming Podcast, a weekly podcast where we look at the history and development of video games. I'm your host, RxDude22. We're nearing the end of Season 3. We're in our top 10 now of our top 25 NES games of all time, as chosen by yours truly. To recap where we're at so far, let's count down where we've been. Number 25 was Super Dodgeball. Number 24, RC Pro-Am. Number 23, Adventure Island. Number 22, Kid Icarus. Number 21, Duck Hunt. Number 20, Gyromite. Number 19, Tecmo Super Bowl. Number 18, Double Dragon. Number 17, Final Fantasy. Number 16, DuckTales. Number 15, Adventures of Lolo. Number 14, Ninja Gaiden. Number 13, Castlevania. Number 12, Contra. Number 11, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. And number 10, Super Mario Bros. 2. This week, we look at number 9, a game on the NES that featured a prolific boxer of the time, but was also rebranded when the license with him expired. We're looking at Mike Tyson's Punch-Out today. Let's dive into the episode. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is a 1987 boxing video game developed and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Part of the Punch-Out series, it is an adaptation of the arcade video games Punch-Out from 1984 and Super Punch-Out from 1984. Differences from the arcades include the addition of undisputed world heavyweight champion Mike Tyson as the final boss. It received critical acclaim and is retrospectively considered one of the greatest video games of all time. Gameplay. Punch-Out features Little Mac, a young boxer fighting his way up through ranks of the World Video Boxing Association. After facing a series of colorful fictional opponents in 3 circuits and winning the championship in each, Little Mac enters a final dream fight against a highly skilled boxer. In the gold version, the final boss is Super Macho Man, who was also the final opponent in Super Punch-Out. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out features Mike Tyson, the real-life world heavyweight champion at the time. After the license to use Tyson expired, he was replaced by the fictional Mr. Dream. Little Mac has limited repertoire compared to most of his opponents. His punches are limited to left and right jabs, left and right body blows, and a powerful uppercut. The uppercut can only be used once the player earns a star, which is typically accomplished by counterpunching the opponent directly before or after certain attacks are launched. The player can acquire up to 3 stars, but loses them whenever Mac is hit or knocked down. To defend, Mac can dodge left or right, duck, and block punches by putting up his guard. Little Mac has a heart counter, which decreases upon being hit, blocking a punch, or throwing a punch that the opponent dodges or blocks. When the counter decreases to 0, Little Mac temporarily turns different shades of pink and appears tired, exhausted, leaving the player unable to attack but still able to dodge, duck, and block. At this point, Mac can regain some hearts and his normal color palette only by avoiding opponent's punches. He immediately loses all of his hearts upon being knocked down, but can regain some by getting up. A bout can end by knockout, KO, if a fighter is unable to get up within 10 seconds after being knocked down, by technical knockout, TKO, if a fighter is knocked down 3 times in 1 round, or by decision, if the bout lasts 3 full rounds without a clear winner. In order to win by decision, the player must accumulate a certain point total by punching the opponent. Some bouts cannot be won in this manner and will automatically result in a loss for the player if the opponent is not knocked out. Mac can only get up 3 times during any one bout. If he is knocked down a 4th time, he will be unable to rise and thus lose by knockout. When Mac loses his first bout to a ranked opponent, he will have a chance to fight a rematch. However, if he loses a title bout, he will fall in the rankings. 1 place for the minor or major circuits, 2 places for the world circuit. Losing a rematch causes him to fall 1 place, unless he is already at the bottom of the circuit, forcing him to fight his way back up. A 3rd loss or a loss in the dream fight ends the game. Characters. Little Mac faces a total of 14 opponents, 3 in the minor circuit, Glass Joe, Von Kaiser, and Piston Honda, 4 in the major circuit, Don Flamingo, King Hippo, Great Tiger, and Bald Bull, and 6 in the world circuit, Piston Honda, Soda Popinski, Bald Bull, Don Flamingo, Mr. Sandman, and Macho Man. And Mike Tyson, or Mr. Dream, in the Dream Fight. All character sprites except King Hippo are reused for 2 characters each, with changes made to colors, head, or special moves. Mario has a cameo as the referee. 3 opponents from the minor and major circuits reappear in the world circuit, with new attacks that force the player to devise a new strategy, those being Piston Honda, Bald Bull, and Don Flamingo. Development of the game. Punch-Out was developed by Nintendo Research and Development No. 3. Genyo Takeda, the producer of the Punch-Out arcade games, was the director of the NES game. Because the NES was not as powerful as the arcade hardware, they could not recreate the arcade graphics. Instead of making the playable boxer wireframed or transparent in order to see the opponent, they made the playable character boxer smaller and named him Little Mac, a 17-year-old boxer weighing about 107 pounds. The behavior of each opposing boxer follows a set pattern requiring trial and error and memorization to defeat them. Music. The theme song for Punch-Out is Look Sharp, Be Sharp, composed by Malin Merrick. It originated with the radio and TV program Gillette Cavalcade of Sports from 1942 to 1960. The opening theme of some characters are classical and folk themes. Glass Joe has the French national anthem, La Marcelle. Von Kaiser, Great Tiger, and Super Macho Man have Ride of the Valkyries by Wagner. Piston Honda has Japanese folk song Sakura. Don Flamingo has the prelude to the opera set in Spain, Carmen, by George Bizet. And Soda Popinski has Russian folk song, The Song of the Volga Boatman. Releases of the game. Gold version. Before the public release of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Nintendo released it in a gold-colored Famicom cartridge titled Punch-Out in Japan, without Mike Tyson, as a prize for participating in the Famicom Disk System Family Computer Golf U.S. Course Tournament held in September of 1987. 10,000 units were produced, half were given as high-score prizes, and the rest were given as a lottery prize. Its final opponent is Super Macho Man, who is also the final opponent in the arcade game Super Punch-Out. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Around the time the gold version was released for a Famicom Computer Golf U.S. Course competition, Nintendo of America's founder and former president Minoru Arakawa attended a boxing match during the Heavyweight Unification Series that featured its future champion Mike Tyson. Arakawa became so astonished with the athlete's power and skill that he was inspired to use his likeness and the tournament itself in the upcoming game. Tyson was rumored to have been paid $50,000 for a 3-year period for his likeness. This transaction was something of a risk for Nintendo, as it occurred before Tyson won the World Boxing Council WBC Heavyweight Championship from Trevor Berbick on November 22, 1986, which greatly increased the profit of the game. Nintendo would release the Mike Tyson version of Punch-Out in Japan soon after its North American release. Punch-Out. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was rebranded to simply Punch-Out and re-released in the US and Europe in 1990 and 1991 respectively. When Nintendo's license had expired with Mike Tyson, his likeness was replaced by a fictional character named Mr. Dream. His visual likeness and undefeated record are based on Rocky Marciano. This version of the game was used in all major re-releases, including the Virtual Console, Animal Crossing for GameCube, the NES Classic Edition, and on the Nintendo Switch Online subscription service, which Mike Tyson humorously contested. Reception. More than 2 million copies of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out were sold in North America by 1988. It is one of the 2 NES games to reach its sales milestone that year, along with The Legend of Zelda. Punch-Out was well received by critics. In 1989, Computer and Video Games magazine said the NES version of the great boxing arcade game had big, brilliantly drawn and animated sprites, a brilliant control method, and utter superlative gameplay, making it definitely the best boxing game available on any machine. Ace magazine in 1989 listed it as the second highest rated NES game after Super Mario Bros. They stated it bashes the proverbial shit out of any other home boxing game on any other console or computer. And it proves that even if Nintendo's hardware may be technology naff, they can still squeeze an excellent game onto a cartridge. A GameSpot reader poll ranked it as the 6th greatest NES game. Nintendo Power magazine ranked it as the 17th best game for a Nintendo system in its top 200 games list. In August 2008, Nintendo Power listed it as the 6th best NES game, praising it for putting arcade-style fun over realism. Historian Stephen L. Kent called it the second major game of 1987. Author Nathan Lockard cited the graphics, violence, controls, and the variety for making it a true classic and one of the best NES games. In 2005, Punch-Out is on GameSpot's list of the greatest games of all time. Editor Sean Labe of Den of Geek ranked it 7th out of the 15th best NES games of all time, and Esquire's Dom Nero and Cameron Sherrill ranked it 5th. Games Radar ranked it the 11th best NES game ever made, calling it a brilliant puzzle game disguised as a sports game. Game Informer ranked Mike Tyson's Punch-Out as its 14th favorite game ever in 2001. The staff noted that no boxing game since has been as beloved. IGN named it the 7th best NES game. Official Nintendo magazine ranked the game 74th in a list of greatest Nintendo games. In media, on The Tonight Show on October 29, 2014, Mike Tyson was challenged by host Jimmy Fallon to play the game on live TV. The virtual Tyson defeated the real Tyson in the first round by TKO. While interrogating a murder suspect in Brooklyn Nine-Nine Season 5 episode The Box, Detective Jake Peralta laments the difficulty of beating the Punch-Out character Great Tiger as he teleports around the ring, to which the accused confidently asserts, "I beat him every time. You just pinch him where he gets dizzy." All the information provided in the podcast today was provided by Wikipedia. And with that, we bring episode 49 of the Classic and Current Gaming Podcast to a close, and our review of number 9 for Season 3 for our top 25 Nintendo games of all time. You can check out the podcast a couple different ways. You can watch a video presentation of the podcast on YouTube. You can also listen to us on Spotify or your other favorite listening channel as well. We'll be back next week with number 8 as we get closer and closer to our number 1 game. It's been RxDude22 from the Classic and Current Gaming Podcast signing out. Keep on gaming. See you on the next stream. Be good to each other. And you'll hear and see me on the podcast next week. Everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.